Good day, I'm Carl Layden, and today I'm going to talk to you about rubber-powered model airplanes, specifically how to wind them. So I need to take the story back a little bit. What we've got here is a Gillows Super Cub kit that I built a few years ago, and I built this specifically to take to Top Gun for a free flight event that they had for people who participated at Top Gun, like the media, helpers, the pilots themselves, as well as anyone else. Flew reasonably well. For transportation, it was built so that the wing could come off it, as well as the tail surfaces and things, and it fit in a shoebox. But as you can see, this is a relatively small aircraft. Frank and Rich signed it for me at the end of the event, which was quite nice as well. So the next year that I went, I decided to up the ante a little bit. So we've got a nice Cub, so where do you go next? Well, I decided I'll design my own aircraft, and we'll do something a little bit unique. So I built a Lancaster, 4-engine, rubber-powered airplane, built as per the dam busters with a rotating bomb on the bottom, and doubles as landing gear for grass fields. This was a very complex build. I built it just drawing from a small set of 3 views and then enlarging them and retracing it, cutting out all the pieces one at a time. Again, this aircraft breaks down the rudder, the elevator, the stab. The wing actually breaks into 4 separate sections, and even the nose comes off to make it smaller and easier to transport. And that's how I managed to get it there. Some of the features of the plane, the guns, for example, move up and down. The turrets themselves turn. The front of the motors fall off when you don't want them to. Even the rear turret is the same way. And but the challenge with this aircraft remained being, how do you wind it up? And with this one, the way that I did that is I would simply do the first one, wind it up, and I just kind of place it against my shoulder here, holding the aircraft out a little bit. Then I would wind the next motor and hold it in a little bit closer to myself, and the next motor, and then finally getting down to the last one, I would essentially wind it, and I had the plane held in like this, each one of the props hopefully pressing against me not to do something like that. And then I would simply, when it was time to launch, hold it up and away from myself and give it a heave. Well, that really wasn't a very good design. So this year when I go back to Top Gun, I wanted to build another aircraft, build something a little bit different. The Lancaster was quite complex. It took a lot of time, and I was very pleased with the results, but I just had to do something a little bit different, I figured. So this time around, I built another Lancaster. This one done in the Royal Canadian Air Force search and rescue colors. This aircraft had actually been here to Torbay on occasion, based on photos and things that I've seen. So in this case, again, still have the challenges of winding 4 rubber motors. But this time around, what I did is inside of each one of the nacelles, if you can see here, there is a small carbon fiber rod, 1 millimeter. And what I do, once the motor is wound, I pull this rod out, and that prevents the motor from turning until I'm ready to launch. However, that's not the whole story. So what I'm going to do is move these, and I'll show you how I'm going to wind the last motor for this airplane. The other 3 have already been wound, so I'll just do the last one, and then I'll show you the launch technique I'll be using. So each one of the nacelles is removable for winding. So I'll take the number 4 one off here, and I'll put it in my winding stooge. And wind up the motor. I'll be out of the shop, but you can hear me while I'm doing this. So first thing we do, stretch out the rubber, unhook it, place it on my winder. My winder's a little unique. If you look here, you'll see that it's got a calculator hanging off it. That's so that it can count the number of winds when I'm doing them. For this exercise I won't be using it though. And that's just proof that I can't speak and wind a rubber motor at the same time. So now that we've got a few turns added to that motor, I'll just get it ready and show you how this all goes back together. This is a real test to see anyone viewing this video is really still paying attention or has moved on to the latest cute cat video. Okay, so here's the wound nacelle. Okay, and you can see right here I've pulled the carbon fiber rod forward. So I'm going to fit this onto the wing of the Lancaster, and we'll move to the next step. So we line it up in the back. There's a little pin in the back, as well as one in the front. And for launches, when I've got a fully wound motor, there are actually retainers that go on over these pins to keep the motors from coming off the wing. But for what I'm doing here now, that shouldn't be an issue. So what next? Well, the next thing I have to do with this plane is remove the landing gear. The landing gear are removable, so we'll take those off and slide them to the side. Now, the next trick is this foam mount here. And what I do is I place the Lancaster on top of it. As I do, I move each one of the motors back off the carbon fiber pin, and it slides each one into place. Okay. Jam there a little bit. This always works better before you start the video. And I can just hold the stooge in place, or not the stooge, but the foam block in place on the plane, and it retains each one of the motors. There we go. Now that I've got them in place, if I was getting ready to launch the plane, what I would do is I push each one of the carbon fiber rods in all the way so that they won't interfere with the props as they turn. So now effectively each one of the motors is armed, and if I was ready to throw, I would hold this up, quickly remove the foam, and all four engines would begin to turn at once. And so as you can see, I put approximately a couple hundred winds in each one of the motors. They're all turning, and I can feel a little bit of thrust pulling it forward. So for all those that were wondering, how the heck am I going to wind 4 rubber motors and release them? That's how. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about this build or any of my other videos, by all means drop me a line and I'll do my best to answer them.